We are here today at Green River Hill Grocery at Rio, just above the Green River, of which Rochelle and I are, I guess, new owners.
We're the new owners.
We bought this in
Yeah.
December,
Yeah.
like crazy people that we are. And we would like to share just a little bit of the backstory of Roadtripzee. And I think a great place for us to start would be for you, Rochelle, to share a little bit about how all this got started. I mean, this was really your brainchild. It was birthed in you, a love of a road trip. And where did all that begin?
So you're right. I guess, I don't know. It's weird to say that the brainchild of anything, I guess, but I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
right.
maybe let me start because I'm one of 8.
Yeah.
And you're an only child.
Mm-hmm.
And, we really didn't take the road trips because there was a lot of us.
There were 8 of you all.
Yeah, we didn't take a lot of trips, period. If we did take a trip, it was a day trip, which is a road trip, can be a road trip. Mm-hmm. We'd pile in a station wagon and maybe stop for ice cream and go to Louisville to some relatives' houses and then back home in the same day, which is a road trip. But your childhood was a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah. So every summer, my parents, who were both educators and had the summers off, we would road trip to Florida. And we got to do, some of the quintessential things that you think of when you think of a road trip. We got to go to Busch Gardens and see ski shows with, water skiers, and you could hold a parrot on your arm and you could ride an elephant. I mean, these were things that, you don't forget when you do those things as a child, and you always wonder what the next really cool thing is that's out there. And I think that definitely my childhood, traveling with my mom and dad, birthed a belief probably in me that there was so much out there to explore and to do. And it gave me, I think, the joy of travel, and really helped me to see that there's so many possibilities. And my parents also let me travel with other people. My best friend, we called her Winky when I was growing up. Her parents, Dr. Cox, always had conventions to go to. He was a veterinarian, and he would take all of his 4 kids and sometimes an additional 4 kids, and we would all be piled up in the station wagon. No seatbelts. I'm not advising that. But, we were laying in the back. We were piled up. I mean, it was
that's just how you did it back then.
That's how it was done back then. But I mean, and then, I can remember walking Bourbon Street in New Orleans with the Cox family. And again, just the sense of wonder of wow, we live in a great place, but there's so much out there to discover and to explore. And I think if we advance in my history a little bit, as soon as you and I got married, we got married at 19. Mm-hmm. And by the age of 20, as soon as I graduated from college and got a job, we decided we were going to celebrate. And we took this epic, you and I, at 20 years old, took this epic trip out to the West. We flew into Phoenix and we rented a car. I guess that's when you could rent a car at the age of 20.
Yes, they let us.
Yeah. And we drove to the Grand Canyon, which was amazing. And we got to raft on the Colorado River. And we stayed at the Thunderbird Lodge, which is now burnt down from wildfires this year. And we went from there in the Hoover Dam and Las Vegas.
Laguna Beach.
And we ended up at Laguna Beach. Yeah. And, we were sitting in a restaurant eating these shrimp that we didn't know they grew that big, that we didn't know that shrimp were that large. And we were experiencing so many things for the first time in our lives, but definitely for the first time together. And that's another, I think, really super important part of a road trip is that it's something you are sharing with someone you love. You're not going to road trip with someone that you don't even think you like. You know, pretty much you're going to need to be convinced you love that person before you're going to agree to get in a car for a long extended period of time with that person.
And so for you, I guess just the love of travel and the road trip experience was birthed in your heart at a very young age.
At a very young age, through experiences, right? And then, you know, I think it's important to distinguish, we talked a lot about this, you and I have, the difference between a destination vacation and a road trip. And, you know, we're, of course, at Green River Hill Grocery, and we get to meet many people. And there was a young family here today from Texas, and they were road tripping with their two teenagers. And, you know, they were talking about how they go on vacation a lot, but they go to a destination and they all just hang out at that destination. But this was really kind of their first road trip, and how it was so different for them to experience as a family. And it is a different thing. You know, a road trip is something that can be super organic. It can be super organized, and anything in between. You know, it can be anything you want it to be. But most road trips are almost like an organic thing that happen in a way that it can never happen again. Like if you and I were to say, tomorrow we're going to head to Colorado, our journey to Colorado together would happen organically. And if we wanted to go back to Colorado again in 6 months, it would never be the same.
Yeah.
You know, so there's just something magical about the unfolding of a journey that is different than just a destination vacation.
Sure.
And we're not knocking destination vacations. We love those too. There's a place for those. But the road trip is a totally different thing. And as you mentioned earlier, it can just be a day trip.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can take an epic road trip that's just a day long.
Yeah.
So there's all kinds of ways to work a road trip into anybody's budget. And we've talked a lot about that too. But, you know, one thing let's stay on that. Like one of your favorite road trips I think we've ever taken was when we went all the way to Acadia in Maine. Now we live in central Kentucky. So, you know, that's kind of our location when you're hearing us talk about trips. But why don't you share a little bit about that and how we, especially speaking to like budget, you know, we didn't have a huge budget for that trip. Yeah. We had 2 weeks of time, which is a huge time budget. But anyway, I'll let you talk a little bit about that.
We had an ultimate destination in mind, but the journey there and back home was really just kind of fluid, which made it really fun. We'd car camp and stop maybe every 3 days and sleep in a real bed and take a shower, and then we'd car camp some more and took lots of back roads, and we saw lots of little communities and different places, and it was easy. I mean, it was an easy travel.
Mm-hmm. It was almost effortless.
Effortless, yeah.
Yeah, an unscripted.
It was a slower pace.
Yes.
Yeah, we weren't in a hurry to get there, in a hurry to leave. It was just like we had all the time in the world, even though we kind of chunked out 2 weeks of time.
Right.
But we felt like.
Yeah. I think that's another thing that really happens on a road trip is that we get into the mentality of we don't have to do it all. We don't have to see it all.
Yeah.
And what we get to today is what we can get to today, and then we'll see what happens around the bend. You know, it's an unscripted type lifestyle, you know, that you can fall into. But like that trip was glorious because, you know, we knew we had 2 weeks, but we didn't necessarily have the budget at that time for 2 weeks worth of, you know, extravagant nightly stays in hotel, or not even our budget, you know, hotels. So we car camped some, we cooked some over campfires, we ate at some fabulous restaurants, we stayed at a couple of fabulous hotels. But we also, you know, just had coffee with some veterans at a cafe one morning. Was that Massachusetts? That was in Massachusetts. Yeah. And then we had Mystic Pizza, you know, the famous Mystic Pizza place. But anyway, it was a joyful, I think that was by ourselves, other than, you know, our first trip that we talked about after we were empty nesters again. Yeah. That was our first really big road trip, and we've had several since then that follow the same pattern. You know, we've learned to take the back roads, to stop at places that you haven't necessarily ever heard anybody talk about. And I think going back to the whys of Roadtripzee, that's why we did decide to write about our experiences and share with others. You know, one of our most recent, you know what I'm going to say, our most recent favorite stops that was a total surprise for us was when we were leaving Carter Caves, Miss Opalhar.
Oh, yeah. 102 years old.
102 years old. Yeah. Miss Opalhar was still running her own business at 102, and we just happened to go, hey, looks like there's a little shop there.
Saw an open sign.
Yeah. Sometimes the open sign is the flag that we stop at, right? But, you know, we walked into this little business. It was adorable, and Miss Opalhar greeted us, and she's 102 years old this year, and she still runs her own business. And, you know, just she was so impressive. Yeah. And we would have never met Miss Opalhar.
Sure, yeah.
You know, now if we had set our sights on getting 5 things done that day.
Yeah, that reminds me, I'll never forget it. That trip we took to Florida, and we were heading home, and it took us 3 days to get out of North Florida because we would, you know, stop at every little nook and cranny along the way and saw some great little communities and businesses. And
we ended up seeing the manatees. We were just inundated with how beautiful the state parks were. I think we went to several that day, those 3 days, and we got to see the manatees. And I mean, there's 1,000 things that we could talk about that we've seen, but the joy of the road trip is in kind of doing life unscripted as it comes and as it unfolds, and just letting yourself not be in a rush or not have too much on your agenda that you miss the big things. But we always have a few anchoring things we want to get done.
Sure.
Or that we want to see. Yeah. For, you know, when we went to up north, when we went all the way to Maine, our goal was to eat lobster.
Yeah, and to get to Maine.
And to get to Acadia specifically, because we wanted to go to that national park. And so, you know, we always set out on a road trip having at least like 1 or 2 things we would like to accomplish. But if we get detoured and if we find something else that's more interesting, then that's just, we kind of consider that's just what it's supposed to have been. Yeah. So, but when we write and we podcast at different locations, when we write about it, we take photographs and we share those, it's to let people know that these things exist, first of all, and give them a firsthand experience, or firsthand look at what we experienced or what some of our team members experiences have been. And I think we just hope to be inspirational and get people, you know, in the vehicles together, spending time. It's not just about the travel; it's about the time and the people you're going with too. Because, what are you going to talk about? What's your playlist going to be? What topics are you going to discuss?
Yeah. So, what would you recommend to someone that's maybe listening and would say, you know, I think maybe I'd like to try that? Where do you start?
Where do you start?
What would be a great starting point? Walk out, say, I've got 6 days and this is the ultimate destination, and let everything else be fluid.
I would almost even go smaller, right? Maybe just like we've got a couple of nights, we can go somewhere. Let's take these 3 days and let's hit it, and and whoever you're going to choose to be in the car with you, because, that's a gift and a choice for you to choose someone to be with. You ask them, what are some things you'd really like to do in the next 3 days? And then you share what are some things you would like to do. And then you just kind of, start tackling that list a little bit. And that's one thing, and I know you remember this because we do it every year, when we would travel with our kids, and we've taken our kids, a lot of our road trip experience too was when we were raising our 3 kids, was we had the goal of getting them to every Kentucky state park, and we did that. And then we had the lofty goal of getting them to all 50 states. We did not achieve that, but we got a lot. I think we did 25 states with them before they were all 18, which is a lot in road tripping world. But every year when we went anywhere with our kids, we would say to them, everybody pick 5 things they would like to do, and put them in value order. If you do nothing else, what's the one thing you want to make sure you do? What's number 2? Even if we just got everybody's number 1 and number 2s done, then everybody got to do something that was important to them. Well, with 5 of us, even if we just got everybody's number 1 done, that was often a big deal. So I think that's a good place to start. Start with something slower. Pick your person, get a good playlist, choose some things that you would like to do. And like sometimes for us, it's nothing more than, we want to eat somewhere we've never eaten before. Sometimes that's as simple as it gets for us, or we just want to relax somewhere, or we want to canoe, or we want to, whatever the choice has been at that moment. And then, just set sail or set off on the road with no real preconceived notions. Sometimes it is, of course, great, depending on where you're going, to have some accommodation plans beforehand. We have had some fails at that through the years. Those make great family lore stories.
But even we've laughed at that. Even those times we've laughed at over and over. Camping in Georgia in July.
Horrible idea.
Horrible.
Never do that. Never do that. We have stayed at some places I will not name the names of that our kids still will name the name of when they retell the story and say, well, at least it's not the whatever. We've had some misses along the way, but depending on, if you're going into an urban area specifically or wherever you're going, accommodations ahead of time are always a good idea. We've also camped at some spots that were not a great decision because we didn't have a plan ahead of time. We ended up in Cuyahoga National Park one night, sliding in after 11 o'clock because we were trying to get further down the road. And we couldn't find the campground, and we found the picnic area, and we're like, this is close enough, we're just going to sleep here for the night. Well, we didn't know that area was the starting line of a marathon that was happening the very next day.
At 7 a.m.
At 7 a.m. So we woke up to people all around our car.
Warming up, stretching for the marathon they was about to run.
And doing other things that they were doing in preparation for. And so it was Yeah, and we barely got out of there before they,
Yeah.
you know, we barely got out of there before we were kind of trapped in the midst of the marathon. So yeah, learn from our experiences and maybe don't do that. But anyway, I think any time that you take off with somebody that you really care about and you just have the joy of discovering what's new, it's a magical time.
Sure.
And it's an organic thing that'll never happen the same way again.
Yeah. Every trip is unique.
Yeah.
And so I think there is a big difference or probably bigger than big. There is a real difference between a destination vacation and a road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, we're not saying if you're a person who wants to plan everything, we appreciate that. You know, we're not saying, because there's joy in anticipating what
Sure.
you're going to plan and do too. But yeah, I think that it's one of those situations where when you let yourself kind of relax into the road trip, it's a totally different thing. And I think that the ultimate question here has been why, as far as a back end question for Roadtripzee, you know, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
And I think just to share our experiences so that others can have their own magical experiences, and everybody's experience will be different.
Sure.
So what you read from us or what you see that has happened with us, it won't be the same for you. And that's okay. It'll be different. We always try to show exactly what other people can have access to. Like if we're getting, like since we've started podcasting at other places, you know, we'll show you some of the behind the scenes there, but that may not be an experience everybody can have.
Yeah.
You know, like when we got to go behind the scenes and to see how the set worked in the community theater in Shelby County that was fun. Not everybody can experience that, but we still wanted to show you behind the scenes. But, you know, everybody's road trip, no matter where it is, no matter how small it is, even if it's a day trip or a 2-week one, everybody's will be different and it'll be uniquely for them.
Yeah, even if it's just a weekend overnight or.
Yeah. It can be, they just can be any length.
Yeah.
So I think that's my why. That's just sharing with others, hoping to inspire people to hit the road as well with people that they care about. And also, anytime you hit the road and you stop at a little shop with Miss Opal Har, or you eat at a restaurant, or you pay admission to see the American Dollhouse Museum in Danville, Kentucky, you know, you're here supporting local economies and local business owners that are working hard. So part of what we do with Roadtripzee too is, you know, we try to come alongside the people who are running the small business and just give them a little lift.
And there are some very lovable, friendly, hospitable people.
The best.
Out there.
The best. And just here's another thing that you may not know about Roadtripzee. If we have had an experience where we feel like everyone wasn't welcome, if we feel like there was anything that wasn't inviting for all people, then we won't write about it.
Yeah.
We won't talk to you about it. So that's one thing that is something we really never talk about. And we don't, and we also do not write a negative review of those places either, because when we encountered them, we want to show the grace to them. We want to show grace to them by acknowledging that when we encountered them, they may have been having a bad day.
Yeah, don't know what they might have been going through.
Exactly.
Personally.
Exactly. So we would never want to do anything that would hurt their business. But if we feel like there's enough for us to not be sure if everyone would be welcomed there, then we just won't write about it or talk to you about it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our line and the decision we made a long time ago. And, you know, Roadtripzee is only like is going on 3 years old.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I know.
Yeah. And it's been the funnest thing. And I guess let's wrap it up by saying thank you to everyone for following along, because we had no idea when we started this that it would end up with any audience at all, any
Right.
followers, any community. But like
And
you,
and our hope is to maybe inspire someone to take a road trip,
that's right.
have an experience.
Yeah. And share what they
Mhm.
like. Our groups on Facebook, like you guys are the best. When somebody says, I'm thinking about going to Cincinnati or Chicago or Louisville for the weekend, or is there anything to do in Metcalfe County? You know, everybody really pitches in, and we thank you all so much for that, because that's such good information for all of us to use as we plan our road trips. And we just appreciate you all being a part of what we're doing here. It's been so much fun. And thanks for listening to our podcast.
Yep. Thank you, guys.